Hey guys, welcome to the Right Way Wednesday. This is Rebecca Rambo with the Health Pro Heritage Compliance team. And today I want to talk about some documentation out there for our home health therapists. Jason Sasser from the Clinical Strategies Division and I have been working on a podcast series that really goes into a little bit more about different OASIS N items. But I thought I would share with all of you some of the best tips and strategies for tackling the OASIS M item transferring. That's M1850 on the OASIS. So let's talk about that one a little bit because I think it can get a little bit confusing when you think about transfers. The first thing to kind of keep in mind with transfers are that the transfer isn't just the sit to stand. There's many components to it. Ultimately, on the OASIS, the transfer begins in the supine position. So really that transfer score, you have to include bed mobility in that. Rolling side to side, getting up to sit at the edge of the bed. A patient might be able to stand up independently, but if they can't go from supine to sitting at the edge of the bed, that's gonna automatically need to be counted in the OASIS as needing some assistance. Maybe they use an assistive device to get to the edge of the bed, a bed rail or something like that. Consider those items in your assistive device. Just because it's not what you might think of as a walker or a cane doesn't mean that it doesn't count as that assistant device. The next thing to really think about and consider is, they're supposed to be able to transfer to the nearest surface. So what if you go into the home and they're laying supine in bed and the next closest transfer surface is 15 feet away in a chair that might be across the room? Can you move the chair closer? And my answer would be not at the initial assessment. You don't want to make any modifications or do any interventions before that initial assessment. So by moving the chair closer in order to kind of have that person have an easier time with that transfer, that's really an intervention. So when you're doing that start of care, the very first OASIS, you want to make sure that you're getting that person's true baseline before any treatment is provided. So no, not yet. I mean, that can certainly be something that you look at doing very quickly as you start to do your interventions and look at the environment. How can you adapt the environment to make transfers better or improve that score on transfers? But initially, if the patient just happens to have a chair on the other side, there might be some gait, some walking involved in getting to that. So if just because they're able to stand up, if they can't get to that next closest surface, you need to score the OASIS according to that. So that's always a good question that comes up when you're looking at the transfer score. So on the transfers, you have a level of 0 to 5, 0 being unable to independently transfer, 5 being bedridden, unable to transfer, and is unable to turn or position themselves. When you're looking at the OASIS, you want to go from that 5 up. So kind of start there and go through each answer, see which one is the patient's best and most usual performance, or what's greater than 50% of the time. If it's just one time that they're not able to do it, it was a bad occurrence, something happened, that wouldn't be what you want to score. You want to score on their most usual performance for any of the OASIS items. So that is your brief overview of the OASIS transferring. I would love to hear if you guys have any questions or if there is a certain OASIS item that you'd like me to feature next that maybe you have difficulty scoring or just want to talk about the best practices. So reach out. I'm so happy that we have so many followers now. So for all of you home health clinicians out there, go ahead, type a reply, add a comment, let me know what OASIS item you want to hear or talk about documentation for next. Thanks everyone. Have a great week.